today I want you to talk about self-confidence.
So first, I think we should define what confidence is because I think it's a word that a lot of people just throw around there. And really, for me, of course, there are many definitions. I think self-confidence would be this thing that lets you know that regardless of external noise, what anybody says, what anybody thinks, you are being your true self. And then coming from that, all of your thoughts, words, actions would be truly you and truly your confidence, rather than having somebody's definition of you and who you should be placed upon you.
Okay, so my first question to you is, can you share a time in your life when you was at your lowest?
A time of my life when I was at my lowest, I mean, there are quite a few, but off the bat, I can remember one of it was heartbreak. And you would say, oh, but you're a professional, you've accomplished X, Y, and Z, why are you feeling like that? And everything is a work in process, but the question is when I felt. And I suppose all of it goes back to confidence and what you think you need to be accomplished. We are often told, go to school, study your lesson, come back, work, have a family. So all these things are imposed on you. So when you feel as if you've failed in one particular area, you get down on yourself, it's like, why did that not work for me? So at that particular time in my life, I felt a little down. I felt betrayed because why would someone say things that they don't mean or do things when you've not done bad things to them? And I later, of course, realized that sometimes people and situations come into your life to teach you a lesson, to uncover a part of you that was broken that needs healing. So it was a very valuable but yet painful lesson. And life has a way of giving you the same lessons until you really learn the lesson. Yeah.
Okay, and my second question to you is, how do you deal with self-doubt or imposter syndrome?
Well, personally, I can't really say I've had imposter syndrome. I've heard people talk about it, but I've always had a secure sense of self, even when everyone or everything around me was doubting who I am. There may be times when I'm quiet, yes, and it's really because I'm observing other people's actions. But yes, sometimes because the noise is great, you go like, is this really like my feeling? Are they true or are other people really saying the truth? Because you don't want to walk around being too cocky saying I'm this, I'm that, and you have blind spots and you're missing pieces of yourself that you need to deal with. So it's a balance of those two things. Of listening but not always internalizing what people say to you because they can be wrong. And very often they are wrong because they have, what should I say, the box. A lot of people are in a cage. The cage is not locked, but it's defined by how I should be, who I should be, and it's always about how people see the externals and not about living from within.
Okay, so our third question is, have you ever had to rebuild your confidence after a setback or failure?
Well, going back to the same stories of heartbreak, yes, and you do ask yourself, how worthy you are, or if it was my fault. But then when you take your time and you analyze it, and yes, everybody has a part to play in everything that happens because you invited the situation in. And there were times when you may not have stood up for yourself, but I didn't stand up for myself. And times I may have, should have said no and didn't say no. But you take it all as life lessons and you try not to make the same lesson over and over. Life is indeed a learning process and you get better and better as time progresses.
Do you think social media helps or hurts self-confidence today?
It depends on how everything is used. But from what I've seen, it's mostly hurting people on various levels. One, people are addicted to their phones, which keeps them distracted. Every time you have something that's telling you who to be, who to show up as, without you thinking for yourself, there's a problem. Every time somebody picks up the phone and the notification goes off, bing, 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 that gives dopamine hits to the brain. So you're always in this constant state of, am I stimulated? Really, do we need all of this stimulation? Because sometimes we just need to sit in silence to hear ourselves. So in those ways, it does hurt because you don't know who you are. You know who you want to look like everyone you see. And believe you me, they don't all have it together. We see the news all the time, the stars and the ballers and everybody, they put a big, nice, pretty front. But do they have good relationships? Do they have people they can count on? Sometimes they don't. They're doing all of these things to fill the void, the emptiness that they feel inside. Not everybody, but a good bit of them. So anybody who continuously watches social media without saying, who do I want to be in this world? That's the mistake you're making. The converse side is that everything is available. All the information that you need is available online. So if you want to go look up books on confidence, YouTube's on confidence, it's there. It's not like you have to go to a library and sit and read encyclopedias like back in the day. So it can be used for good. And there are people who really show you that, okay, I've come from this dark place, and they show you their life, and I've made it to this place. So you can use those examples as your bolster to uphold you, to inspire you. So it plays both ways, and everyone should always choose to be inspired rather than depressed because of what they see.
That's true. And our last question for today. What advice would you give someone struggling with low confidence right now?
Well, I think first is to sit and find out who you are. Not a lot of people know who they are, like truly are. And I tell people to ask themselves this question: who would you be if no one is looking? Until you've answered that question, you'd always be going around in circles and digging yourselves in hole. So the first question for everyone: who would you be if no one is looking? Answer that question for yourself.